Hey everyone, welcome to my detailed guide on the Leviathan GM speedrun time. With the best method and gear, the odds of GM time are quite common, better than 1 in 3. I will also show budget alternatives for those missing certain gear. First off, let's start with the gear setup. Here's the optimal setup. Note, regular Missouri has the same offensive bonus as Fortified Missouri, but works better for taking venges. Big thing here is ZCB. It greatly improves your odds. If you're missing the Zag crossbow, replace it with your best crossbow capable of using Ruby Dragon bolts. If all you have is Rune crossbow, this will be quite rough, but doable. If you are missing Webweaver, you can replace it with Dragon Knives or Dragon Throne Axes, though Dragon Throne Axes would be a bit awkward to use during enrage. If you're really down bad, you can replace them with Magic Shortbow imbued and Amethyst Arrows for a special attack during enrage phase. Note, there's also a case for volatile special attack if you're missing a lot of these special attack weapons, but happen to have a volatile. It's very inaccurate, but can hit well over 100 damage when waking Leviathan up after stunning it. On task, it can hit a 154 max hit for reference. It is very inaccurate though, and a max mage switch would be brutal on the inventory, so only the most unique of Ironmen will find it worth using. Next, a quick section on plugins. I will have the tile markers and line markers in the description. Note the yellow 3x3 tile marker in the northwest. That shows where you must avoid placing boulders at all costs. If Leviathan places a boulder there, it will make the Abyssal Pathfinder spawn in a different corner. The line markers are very nice for optimal Shadow Barrage positioning, though you can also just make a tile for it if you want. Other than that, menu entry swapper with left click and shift click for Ancient Spellbook and Archaic Spellbook will make swapping between free spellbooks much easier. I recommend putting the Ancient Spellbook on the left click option. Radius marker and or better NPC highlight is nice for knowing when and where the damage buff of a Pathfinder becomes active. If you mark the Pathfinder, then the same tick the tile appears is the same tick you have the damage buff. Now for the actual method, it's pretty straightforward in the start. Make sure your spellbook swapped into brawls and pre-venged. After you enter, hit the boss up to 3 times to see if you hit a natural ruby. If you hit, then go into melee distance to take a venge, as only his melee hits work for venge, and use your ZCB special attack and summon a brawl. If you hit very big normal hits, you can push for a 4th hit. If your first 2 hits are both zeros, I would just reset. Leviathan, as I'm making this video, can only melee once at the start of a kill. This melee limit goes away around when he does the 3rd speed up and summons the 3rd boulder on you. As soon as he does the first melee, revenge and start healing up with Guthix Rest. Look for a safe opportunity to spellbook swap to Ancients without losing ticks after you revenge. I recommend doing it after you take the venge. Just remember, to not lose ticks, you must click on the spell, either the same tick or the tick after you ZCB the boss. You want to camp ZCB until under 400 HP, then switch to T-Bow or Blowpipe or Bofa plus Full Crystal. These are all pretty similar, though if you don't have Missouri, then I'd recommend Full Crystal Bofa. If you do have Missouri, T-Bow is easier to avoid losing ticks with than Blowpipe, especially when doing the Shadow Barrage. Whatever you choose, DPS the boss until under 230 HP, and then Shadow Barrage the boss, and 1 tick later hit the boss, then start running to get behind Leviathan, as shown here. This trick is tick perfect. If you're late with a 1 tick range hit after a Shadow Barrage, it won't deal full damage. Make sure you barrage behind the line like so. The lines divide the room into several sections, and you need to run 3 sections over to wake up the boss, so standing at the edge of a line minimizes how far that is. Also note, if you happen to Shadow Barrage the exact same tick the boss does with speed up transition, it will follow you for a few extra seconds before being stunned. It's unlikely to line up like that, just be aware in case it does happen. Also note that Leviathan's hitbox is very wonky when it starts to attack very quickly, so be very careful of your camera angle to avoid accidentally clicking on the boss when you're trying to run around it for a back hit, as shown here. I recommend at most 17 hits with a 5 tick weapon before going for a Shadow Barrage. It's possible to do it with 18 hits, but would require absolutely rambling final phase and gain overkill a couple times, so I would not recommend going for this unless you know what you're doing. An easy way to know when 17 hits are up, once Leviathan starts attacking after doing the 3rd speed up, you can do 2 more T-Bow or Bofa hits, or 5 more Blowpipe hits, as shown here. Essentially you Shadow Barrage right before Leviathan speeds up for a 4th time. Note that Leviathan will attack 12 times between the 3rd and 4th speed up, and a melee will delay him by 4 ticks and does not count as one of his 12 hits. After the Shadow Barrage strat, I immediately path to the tile labeled 1, equip my Blowpipe, and then path to the tile labeled 2 after seeing the main tornado spawn. This is to avoid any rocks being in my way at the start of enrage. Feel free to do whatever works for you. Leviathan places a rock based on where you were when the main tornado spawned. I then attack the same tick the Pathfinder spawns. it will spawn after 3 ticks of the main tornadoes being there, so you can predict when it will spawn to attack the same tick it appears. You will need to lose 0 to 1 ticks after a behind the boss melee distance T-bow hit, depending on if your thrall overkilled the phase transition to speed it up. If you're really confident on the timing, you could start with a web weaver, or play it safe and start with a blowpipe, as it's a big time loss if you waste a web weaver spec before final phase damage buff begins, but blowpiping 1 tick too early isn't too bad. Note the damage buff is the entire 7x7 square of this orange radius marker. In case you were curious, final phase has you deal 20 to 100% of your normal max hit, ignoring any special attack damage changes, and rolls twice for your damage, picking the higher roll, similar to what Mafang does with accuracy. So your average hit is around 73% of your max hit. The behind critical hit rolls 60 to 100%, putting it closer to 88% of your max hit on average, which is why we go through so much trouble to do the Barrage tech. Anyways, if tick perfect, you get 1 web weaver spec and 4 blowpipe hits at the end after a 17 hit start. If you did less hits before barraging, you will get even more hits, pretty much guaranteeing the GM time at that point if you manage to proc enrage phase. Note, you can also pull up to melee distance for a T-bow hit if you know your next hit is your last, but this is a little tricky to do without dying, so I don't recommend it for most people. Note the brew and range pod in my inventory, by the way. You can optionally brew range pod between T-bow hits to heal a little faster without any DPS loss, or if you're an Ironman liking Epic Stress, it can be helpful as well. Just don't forget to restore before casting spells. That's about all there is to the Leviathan GM time. As far as the budget alternative, here's a run I did a while back with ACB and Dragon Knives instead of ZCB and Webweaver. It's essentially the same strategy, just a bit stricter at the beginning on resets. Also note, blowpipe into Shadow Barrage into 1 tick ACB is a bit tricky to pull off. In this example, I ended up just Shadow Barraging into 1 tick blowpipe. I even messed up with the knife specs a bit during enrage. Most likely when you first get the GM time, it will not be a perfect run. So just do your best and don't stress over mistakes too much. The end of a fight is quite easy to mess up on in many different ways. And that's my detailed Leviathan guide. Hope this helps you all. Good luck in the GMs. This has been Mogul Kirby. See ya. Please. That's gotta be it. That's so fast. Come on. 104! We're done! There you go. Good example.